بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي هدانا إلى الصراط المستقيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين وعلى آله الطاهرين وأصحابه الكاملين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين يكنزون الذهب والفضة ولا ينفقونها في سبيل الله فبشرهم بعذاب عليم صدق الله العظيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما درود شريف اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Alhamdulillah, in today's program, inshallah, we will be going through some very basic masail of zakat, as most people tend to give their zakat in Ramadan, even though that's not necessary. Not everybody gives it in Ramadan, and you don't have to give it in Ramadan, and we'll explain why, inshallah. So hopefully, like Imam Sahib said, towards the end of the session, maybe we'll have 5 or 10 minutes left. If anybody wants to ask questions, they can either write them down. It's probably going to be easy for me. But keep them brief, inshallah, as we won't have a lot of time. So first and foremost, zakat is a pillar of Islam. Yeah, as we know, the pillars of Islam are to utter the shahada, salah, zakah, fasting and hajj. And it's a very important pillar of Islam, because it's to do with wealth. Yeah, something which everybody likes. Yeah, our wealth, our money, we are attached to it. It's a very different type of ibadah. The first pillar is shahada. Yeah, you just say it with your mouth. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Person becomes a Muslim. That's it. You don't need to do wudu. You don't need to face the qibla. You don't need to take your purse or wallet out. There's nothing involved. Salah, for some of us, it may seem like a burden. 5 times a day is fard, but you've got to make an effort. But even if you look at salah, really, it's not that hard. You've just prayed Asr, yeah? For Hanafi fiqh, you hardly need to do anything behind the Imam Sahib. You say Allahu Akbar, you pray Thana, you pray Tasbih, Ruku, Sajda, Attayya, Durud Sharif, Salam, and you're done. Even in Maghrib, very similar, you just say Ameen. That's the only addition. Fasting, again, for some of us it's very hard to give up food and drink, because we love food and drink. And especially in summer it gets hard. Hajj, okay, is connected to money, but it's not just money, it's also physical. Yeah? But it's only once in a lifetime. That's the difference between Hajj and Zakat. Whereas Zakat, you're taking 2.5% out. For some of us, it'll be every year, if you have the nisab, which will explain what the nisab is. So it's very important that we are aware of the masail, the rulings of Zakat. I feel, and I've heard this from many ulama, from all the pillars, or generally a lot of the ibadat, there is a lack of attention paid towards zakat. Zakat की अहमियत बहुत कम है, और जो लोग देते भी हैं सही नहीं देते, मुकम्मल नहीं देते. बस पिछले साल 200 पाउंड दी, इस साल भी 200 पाउंड दे दिया. हालांकि your wages have gone up, your bank account sometimes has doubled, or if it's for women, maybe they've received more gold, and many other things. Especially with the lockdown last year, many people were starting side businesses because they had more time. Yeah, in the last year, we've seen people, whether it's women selling cakes, biscuits, hijab, men selling mobile phones or the PS5, whatever it is. Especially in this season, Zamzam and Ajwa. Yeah, I don't know how it's in Bolton, in Blackburn, every street somebody's selling Zamzam and Ajwa. I've never seen that much Zamzam and Ajwa in my life. But they're not paying zakat on it. You've got 100 drums of Zamzam at home, you need to give zakat on it. But what people do, they give on their, how can I say, what their actual salaries, what they're doing 9 to 5, they pay on that. But the money that's coming cash in hand, We don't pay zakat on it, and we probably don't pay tax on it, but I'll leave that for the tax man, HMRC. Zakat literally means to grow, to purify. Zakka yuzakki in Arabic. Yeah, so its literal meaning is to grow, to purify. It can also mean a blessing. Purify what? You purify your bank account? You purify your wallet or your purse? No. Zakka yuzakki, zakat, it means to purify your soul. That's why it's called zakat, literally. How does it purify your soul? Anybody know? Purifies us from? Come on, what happens when you have too much money? The big G word. We get greedy. Yeah, when you've only got 2 zeros in your bank account, you're okay. 3 zeros, okay. When you start getting 4 and 5 zeros in your bank account, Allah ko bhul jate hai, dene wale ko bhul gaye, Razzaq ko bhul gaye. Ye to mere paise hai. I'll do what I want with it. What? 2.5%. Maulana. Do you know how hard I earned that money? This is the total wrong concept. This is the concept of the non-Muslims. Yeah, work, rest, play, my money, I'll do what I want with it. Nothing in the hereafter. And they won't get anything in the hereafter. But sadly, many Muslims, they don't utter this, but mentally, they have this perception. Mere paise, dene wale ko bhul gaye. Wahi jisne 6 zero diye, bank account mein 1 zero bhi kar sakte hai. Allah 1 zero bhi kar sakte hai. Dunya ko dekho. Especially in the last year, we've seen people who were rich. Tables have turned. So it purifies your soul, that's one meaning. It also means growth, I said, yeah? Growth. How is zakat growth? What grows? Money tree, you give zakat. You have a money tree in your backyard, everybody will give zakat, even the kids will give zakat. No, you growth in the community. The ummah grows. How does the ummah grow? Because when we empower and support poor people, or the less fortunate, let's say, it doesn't necessarily mean everybody's poor who gets zakat. Anybody who doesn't have nisab can get zakat. So you empower them, and not necessarily with food or money. Sometimes you pay their debts off, and he's able to get a job now. You buy somebody in Bangladesh a sewing machine, the lady can sew now, she can earn, next year she doesn't need your zakat. She needs to give zakat. Or you bought somebody some fishing equipment, and that man can fend for himself now. Yeah? Like they say, isn't it? Give a man a fish give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. That's zakat. We're teaching men how to fish, not literally. Basically, we're empowering people. That's why the meaning of zakat is grow. You grow communities. So alhamdulillah, if the 1 billion or more Muslims give zakat properly, like I said, properly. Because even many of us who give it don't give it properly and accurately to the penny, which means what's in my wallet and in this top pocket and under the mattress, uska bhi zakat do. That's why people don't give it accurately. They forget the cash at home, and sometimes we have hundreds. But we'll come on to that. And it's a blessing. Who is it a blessing for? The poor, the needy, the unfortunate, the less fortunate. So zakat is also a blessing. It's not a burden. Yeah? If anybody thinks of it like that, we need to get that out of our head. Purify your soul. If you think, oh no, it's like council tax. Say April just paid council tax. Maulvi is asking for zakat now. That's the wrong mentality. Happens in Ramadan, innit? Let's be honest, we're all human. Yeah, I'm human as well. When the fasts were really long, we do think that, oh my God, how are we going to get through this one? Especially when they were in June, July. So naturally a person thinks that Islam doesn't stop us from being human, but it's what comes out your mouth. Yeah, when you start saying stuff, I can't be bothered fasting, can't be bothered paying zakat every year, I need the money. Only that person will say that who has forgotten that Allah is Razzaq, the sustainer. He gives your money. जिसका भी जितने भी लिखे हुए हैं अल्लाह ने लिखे हैं. किसी का 1000 बैंक अकाउंट में है, किसी का मिलियन में, अल्लाह ने लिखे हैं. Yeah, and this is why in our religion jealousy is haram. Why is jealousy haram? इसलिए कि तकदीर इमाम साहब लिखने वाले नहीं है, मुफ्ती साहब लिखने वाले नहीं. तकदीर कौन लिखता है? खुदा खुद लिखते हैं. तो अगर आप खुदा के फैसले से नाराज हो कि उसको क्यों मिलियन दिया और मुझे सिर्फ आधा मिलियन, उसको क्यों 1000 दिया और मुझे सिर्फ 100, तो वो सवाल किसको पूछना है? on the day of Qiyamah, if you're brave enough, you need to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we're not that brave. We are content and happy and on Allah's decision. So that's a bit about the literal meaning of zakat, and obviously technically it means to give a certain percentage of your wealth to the less fortunate and to the poor every year, and the percentage is 2.5%. Now, the Quran ayat I read, الذين يكنزون الذهب والفضة ولا ينفقونها في سبيل الله, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns those people कि जो लोग चांदी और सोना जमा करते हैं और उसको खर्च नहीं करते अल्लाह की राह में, क्या मिलेगा उनको क़यामत के दिन? फबश्शिरहुम बिअज़ाबिन अलीम, दर्दनाक अज़ाब. Those people who accumulate their money, their cash, their gold, their silver, and don't spend it in the path of Allah, i.e. zakat, for you on the day of judgment is a painful torment. And in the hadith this is explained that what will happen is all your cash, your bank account will come on the day of Qiyamah. Yeah, how? Allah knows best. Yeah, on Qiyamah a lot of things are going to happen which don't make sense to us. Our brains are very small. How Allah does things and how He makes things, only Allah knows. The cash will come, the gold will come, the car will come, the house will come. Everything you didn't give zakat on, the business will come, and it will turn into a serpent, a snake, सांप की शक्ल में, and it will bite him between the cheeks and say, this is your wealth that you accumulated and did not want to give in the path of Allah. That will then inculcate in our heads that was this money mine? या अल्लाह का दिया हुआ माल था. उस वक्त सोच लेंगे, लेकिन उस वक्त के हमको फिक्र नहीं करने के. जो लोग ज़कात देते हैं, we need to think that we need to give the money now and not wait for the akhirah. So moving on, who needs to give zakat? Does everybody need to give zakat? Like I mentioned, it's a bit different from the other ibadat. Namaz, as soon as you're baligh, male, female, you need to pray. Yeah? Roza, if you're fit and healthy, you need to do. Hajj, again, is wealth-wise, and if you're fit and healthy, you need to do it. So zakat, the first condition is you must be Muslim. Ghair Muslim kafir par zakat nahi hai. Second thing is you must be baligh. नाबालिग बच्चों चाहे उसके पास £1,000,000 हो या 1000 पाउंड हो, नाबालिग पर हनफियों के नजदीक ज़कात नहीं है. तीसरी चीज आकिल होना चाहिए. A person must be sane, he must know what he's doing. So somebody who is insane or not in control of their senses and not able to manage their own affairs, zakat is not farz upon them. And the fourth one is you have to have nisab. What is nisab? Anybody know what nisab is? Okay. Everybody should know what nisab is, because I know many people in our masjid. For many years I used to write the nisab on every year, and I used to think everybody knows what nisab is. I said, first of Ramadhan, nisab is, which I've just checked before I come here, £366 today, the nisab. And then people used to ask me, well, you wrote this on, what's nisab? I said, you give zakat. He goes, oh yeah, give zakat. How do you give zakat if you don't know what nisab is? Because they're just giving it every year, they don't even know what nisab is. Everybody should know what nisab is, so remember it, write it down, put it on your phone. Nisab is the threshold. कम से कम मिकदार जो होनी चाहिए 1 साल के लिए, और ये गौर से सुन लो, ये कम से कम मिकदार 1 साल के लिए होनी चाहिए. Because when I explain later, people say, हाँ पहली रमज़ान को मुझे 10,000 पाउंड कोई दे गया, उस पर ज़कात देनी है या नहीं देनी है? Because I've not had it for a year. देनी है, देनी है. If you got it on the day before you give your zakat, you have to give it, because the nisab, £366 according to today. This is why I've checked it today, because it fluctuates. When Ramadan started, I think it was less than that, probably about £10 less. But let's say it's in that range of 350, 360. So why do I mention this nisab, and why did I used to write it on my masjid notice board every year? Because many youngsters, some of the age which are sitting in your masjid today, 15, 16, 17, baligh to ho gaye. Their phones are worth £350, you and I know. Yeah? Some have clothing accounting to that much. So a lot of youngsters, it's not like how in our days you used to get 50p and a pound. These kids have hundreds of pounds in their bank accounts. बालिग हो जाता है, माँ बाप की पहली गलती है कि सिखाया नहीं कि बेटे ज़कात को देना है. बच्चा तो बच्चा है, अकल से कच्चा, कम से कम माँ बाप उसको सिखाए. Because many youngsters, and I could even say the majority which I've told, that how old are you? 18. How much money do you have in your bank account? More than 366. We don't need to ask personal details, how much exactly they got, but more than 366, you need to give zakat. No, I'm not working yet. मैं तो काम नहीं करता. Because they're still in college, they're still in uni. ये किसने सिखाया? कि सिर्फ wages पर zakat ले. Yeah? बहुत से मालदार लोग, they don't work. Money is coming in from God knows where, but they need to give zakat. The same with the youngsters. If you are baligh, same for the girls. If you are baligh and you have more than 366 pounds, then you need to get the date when you had that much money, which we'll come on to. This is another mistake everybody makes. So first mistake is people think you only give it on wages. Whereas 18, 19, 20-year-olds, if they've got 366, 1 year later they'll give zakat. Not this year, well, after a year. So you have to have the nisab for a year. Does that make sense? Whatever happens after that, 366, you've got 1366, उस पर देने हैं. चाहे वो 1000 का साल हुआ या नहीं हुआ, ज़कात देनी है. ये सबसे बड़ी गलती होती है ज़कात में. और हर साल मुझे पहली रमज़ान को कोई ना कोई सवाल करता है, टेक्स्ट करता है, मौलाना ये मार्च, okay, let's just use this year's example. Ramadan started 12th of April, yeah? 12th was the first Tarawih. So, किसी की wages, somebody got wages 31st of March, 30th or 31st to make life easy. So they don't give zakat on that. So many people do it. Why? Because I only got this 2 weeks ago. I only got this 2 weeks ago. अभी तो उसका साल नहीं हुआ. ये गलती है. Nisab, threshold, whatever word you want to use, you need to remember it. The minimum उसका साल होना चाहिए. So if, for example, during the year, so let's make life easy. 1st of April, yeah, or 31st of March, I got my first wage. I've only started working this year. Somebody has, yeah? So he's got 500 pounds, let's say, or 1,000 pounds. As long as it's over 366. So whatever the Islamic date was, probably about the 20th of Shaban, let's say for argument's sake, 20th of Shaban, he became Sahib al-Nisab, the owner of Nisab. Ainda Sal, 20th of Shaban, if he still got 366 or more, whatever the amount is, you give zakat on. Does that make sense? Yeah? I'm only repeating it is because I know one or two will still be confused that how come we give it on wages which I've only had for 2 days or 2 weeks? Because the nisab has to be for a year. Hawlane hol jisko kehte Urdu mein, fiqhi terms, is that has to be for a year. Then comes the zakat anniversary. Now some of you will be thinking, we've never heard this term, zakat anniversary. Some of you maybe don't even know your wedding anniversary, but we'll leave that for when you get home. Otherwise some of you may not get fed today for iftari if your wife questions you. Zakat anniversary, just like you have a wedding anniversary, yeah? If you are married on the 1st of January, let's say, every year will be your anniversary. I've been married 18 years, 20 years, 25 years, 40 years, whatever it is. In the same way, you should have a zakat anniversary, which again a lot of us don't have. Why we don't have? Because riwaj chal raha hai, pehli Ramzan ko zakat deni hai. How do I say? It's incorrect. We won't say zakat nahi hui. Yeah? That's why I don't want anybody to think that hum to 10 saal se pehli Ramzan ko de rahe, maulana kya jaiz nahi hai. It's not about jaiz or na-jaiz, halal or haram. It's about what's correct. Sahi nahi hai. ये जो पहली रमज़ान को सब देते हैं ना, अक्सर उम्मत देती है पहली रमज़ान को या 15वीं रमज़ान या 30वीं रमज़ान. Because did you start working or get your first salary, wage or money on the 1st of Ramadan? Most likely not. Now I could say something further to make you understand better that, let's say as kids, yeah, as kids before you became baligh, a lot of money you would have probably got on Eid day. Yeah? You would have got on Eid day. And a lot of people, their zakat anniversary is 1st Shawwal. Kids who know the masail of zakat, or maybe mummy daddy taught them, they will give zakat every 1st of Shawwal. Why? Because from zero in his bank account, on Eid day, he probably got 366 pounds. Eid, these kids probably do get that much. Yeah? तो उस बच्चे की वो ज़कात की एनिवर्सरी पहली शव्वाल है. ईद के दिन पैसे मिलते हैं ना, फिर जब वो बच्चा बालिग हो जाएगा हर पहली शव्वाल को वो पैसे देंगे. Does that make sense? How you work out your zakat anniversary? Now obviously most of us sitting here 30, 40, 50 years old and started working a long time ago. How do you know when you got the first nisab? Nisab then would have been a lot less. 10 years ago, I think it was about 200 something. So 20 years ago would have been even less, probably not even £100. Because the value of silver is going up. And that's another thing. The nisab is based on silver. There is a nisab based on gold as well. Both were used in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. But in this day and age, the ulama recommend we use the silver nisab. Why? Zakat nisab is probably about £3,000, 3,500. I'm not sure. You can check it online, but it's probably about that much. So why did the ulama say use the silver nisab? To benefit the poor. It's not to rob anybody. It's not to make everybody pay a tax or zakat. Let's be honest, probably everybody or majority sitting here will have £366 in your bank accounts, hopefully. Even some of the kids will, like I said, but not everybody will have 3-4 grand. Not in your bank account. So if we do the gold nisab, less people are paying zakat. Now what you got to remember before you try and look at loopholes, like some of you do in tax, is फायदा किसका होता है? मेरा फायदा नहीं होता, इमाम साहब का फायदा नहीं होता, गरीब का फायदा होता है. Yes, if somebody thinks, why do these Maulvis rip people off and why have we made it so hard and 366 making all the kids give zakat? Your kids are giving zakat, who's benefiting? Masjid give it away, because you can't give to a masjid, which we'll come on to. So, we've done the zakat anniversary. Now what do you give zakat on? Cash you have, whether that's cash at home, physical or in your bank account, any savings you have, gold and silver, and stock, which we'll come on to as well, inshallah. So with gold, one thing we've got to remember is that if somebody only has gold, no cash, so obviously let's say it's a woman and she doesn't have any money at all, not even a pound, she has to have so she can't look at 366. She's not going to look at 366. She's going to look at $7.5 of gold. And if it doesn't come to that, she doesn't need to give zakat. You understand? Usually it's for women, I don't think any men, but if there is a man, same rule applies to him. He doesn't have any cash on him, he will look at, does he have $7.5 of gold? Let's say a woman has both. She's got £100 cash and £300 worth of gold. Does she give zakat? £100 cash, £300 of gold, I'll do the maths for you, is £400. तो आज के हिसाब से ज़कात देगी या नहीं देगी? देगी, because 366 से ऊपर हो गया ना. Does that make sense? So, on the topic of gold as well, so a lot of wives ask this question sometimes, that, oh, does my husband need to give zakat for me? I don't know where they've got this from, but it's the wife's responsibility. If it's her gold, she needs to give it. If it's the child who's baligh, let's say it's 15, 16, it's his responsibility. He doesn't give it, he gets azab. Obviously as parents, you should tell him and calculate it for him and help him, but really whoever's cash it is, whoever's gold is, it's their responsibility. If you have business partners, each partner needs to give the zakat. Does that make sense? On the topic of husband and wife, if for example somebody got married and every year the husband takes it out, it's expected. They had this agreement, or maybe the wife's not good with her zakat masail, or she's not good at maths, so the husband does it, he's a businessman, and it's expected, that's fine. But where a father is giving his son zakat, batana chahiye, taki bacche niyat kar le. You can't just give without your kids knowing, because it's not the niyat, it's not counted. Intention is important for zakat. Same with the wife. So like I said, ek martaba pooch liya na, every year he can take it out, but he needs to let her know that I will take your zakat out. Unknowingly, zakat won't be done. And if that doesn't happen, like I said, it's each individual's responsibility. So like I mentioned, the gold nisab is $7.5. In grams, that's 87.48 grams. And the silver nisab is $52.5. So this 366 figure which I mentioned is the equivalent of $52.5 of silver. $52 chandi. Ye hote 366, and in grams is 612.36 grams. So when do you pay? I've mentioned on your zakat anniversary. So if your zakat anniversary doesn't fall in Ramadan, you don't need to give it. Why this thing came? So where did it come from, this Ramadan business? Everybody gives it. It's because of the reward. which is understandable. We want more reward, times 70. So for example, if my zakat, I'll talk about myself, is due in Muharram, yeah? Ramadhan, Shawwal, Zulqada, Zulhijjah, 3 महीने भी है. Muharram में मैं zakat देता हूँ, पहली Muharram, the new year. But I want to give it now, ताकि सवाब मुझे मिल जाए. और मुझे मालूम है, मसलन 1000 होता ही मेरे अकाउंट में. 1000 I definitely have. And how much zakat do we give on 1000? 25 pounds, mashallah, good. That's a rule to remember as well. That's what I've made you say. If you find it hard figuring your cash out, for every £1,000 you give 25 pounds zakat. For every £100 you give £2.50. £2.50, 2.5%, £2.50. That's it. So if you've got £500, 2.50 times 5. If you've got £5,000, 25 times 5. So I give my zakat in Muharram, for example's sake, and I have £1,000. So I want to get the reward of Ramadan, the thawab. तो वो जो 25 पाउंड है मुझे देने ही है. Just say it goes over 1000, वो तो मैं बाद में दूंगा, लेकिन 1000 तो होते ही मेरे अकाउंट में. 25 तो देना ही है. वो 25 मैं रमजान में दे सकता हूँ एडवांस में. Zakat advance में दे सकते हैं, not in arrears. You can give early. Yeah, you can't give it late. So we have explained that. Now, business assets, business stock, anything which you buy to sell, the intention पक्की नियत हो कि ये चीज बेचनी ही है, उस पर zakat है. Why am I emphasizing on this? You have to sell. Because some of you, maybe who are shopkeepers or factory owners or sell any sort of stock, will think, obviously we might sell. What else are we going to do with it? I'll give you an example. I bought a house here in Bolton. I bought this house to live in. I bought this house to live in. Do I give zakat on it? No, because I said if you make intention, firm intention to sell it, only then anything. That's house is an example. Same with a car. I bought a car because I need a car, not because I want to sell it. I don't give zakat on that. I don't give the zakat on the house in Bolton. Lekin, my intention changes, then you give it. When the intention changes, even if you're not sure, this is how lenient Shariat is. If I'm not sure कि हाँ 6 महीने उसमें रहने हैं, फिर रेंट किराए पर रख दूंगा, you don't need to give zakat on it. You live in it, but he ended up living for the rest of his life, he doesn't give zakat on it. Does that make sense? Any product stock which you buy to sell, 100% नियत बेचने की हो, उस पर zakat देनी है. So which is your every shopkeeper? Yeah, whatever sort of shop you have, whether you're selling milk, chicken, ghost, whether you're hardware shop. I always give the hardware example because I always feel sorry for them. I think hardware is probably one of the most difficult people to give zakat. So if you've got like 50 types of screws here, and each one is a box of 100, but you bought 7, he bought 7, he bought 8, Bichara's got to count them all. On each screw, he's got to give his zakat basically. So if it's 5p a screw, he's got to count, pull them out. Alright, 75 in this box, 12 in this box, 80 in this box, and it'll probably take him all Ramzan just to count it. But yeah, it's the same. And sometimes people ask about gold jewelers. Gold jewelers, obviously gold is very expensive. People who sell cars, people who sell things in the thousands basically, yeah? One gold necklace costs £5,000, a car costs £5,000. So if you've got 100 cars, how do you give zakat on the retail price? Same with the gold jewelers, retail price, believe it or not. What you don't give zakat on is stones, precious stones, expensive ones. Diamonds, rubies, pearls, us par zakat nahi hoti. Only on gold and silver. Coming on to debts now. So, like I explained, you give it on your cash, you give it on the gold, silver and stock. Ye to baku hogi. I think everybody's understood. It's pretty basic, most of you will have heard it. 2-3 things I've mentioned might be new for you. But then, like I said, I'll use my own example. First Muharram, I give £1,000. Can I minus anything? Do I have to give on the full 1,000? Yes, you can. What can you minus? Yes, whatever amount of money, 10,000, 100,000 you got, उसमें से भी घटा भी सकते हैं the money you owe people. The money you owe somebody. इसके दो किस्म होती है. देन जो होता है कर्ज, उसकी दो किस्म होती है. One type is, for example, you were getting kitchen extension or you were getting your dormer attic done and you borrowed £10,000 off your neighbour or your brother or your sister, yeah? £10,000, nice round figure. So what you'll do, that sort of a debt where you're not paying monthly. Normally when it's family and neighbours, you just say, when I have the money, I'll pay you back. Yeah, that's the agreement. Them sort of debts, which is what I'm trying to say is non-mortgage, non-loan. Them sort of debts, you minus the full thing off. 10,000 देने हैं किसी को, पूरे 10,000 निकालना है. So somebody's got 100,000, yeah, pounds in his bank account. 10,000 कर्ज है. How much will he give zakat on? 90. Very good. As simple as that. And if it's more, so just say इस भाई को 10 देना है, उसको 10 देना, उसको 10 देना है. ये तीनों मेरे भाई हैं. तो 30,000 निकालना है. And बकिया 70 पर देनी है. समझ गए? तो कर्ज वो कर्ज पूरा निकल सकता है. लेकिन mortgage वाला, first question is mortgage halal है या haram? If it's haram mortgage, then you need to pay it off very quickly, instantly, do tawbah and get out of interest. ये पहली बात. In case anybody thinks, well, Maulana said just give zakat on the mortgage, which he is inferring or insinuating is halal. Maulana is not inferring anything. Mortgage is haram, but you can, because it's still a debt, you can minus 1 year's payment minus the interest. So you don't minus the interest, whatever the interest is. Besides that, for example, somebody pays £200, yeah, mortgage every month. I'm only giving that number because it's easy, so it's 2,400. From his 10,000, we'll take 2,400 off. And if it's £10 debt, interest, sorry, £10-20 interest, you take that off. Does that make sense? So the two types of debts we've done. One where you take the full lump sum off, which is normally brother, sister, mom, dad, you bought a house or whatever and you bought 10,000. The other one is a loan and mortgage. You don't minus the full 60 grand off. Why? Why can't we do it with that? It's because mortgage, how many years is the average mortgage? 15 years, 20 years, होते हैं ना, 20 साल तो होते ही है. So does that mean he's not going to pay zakat for 20 years? वो हज भी नहीं जाएगा 20 साल, उसमें मर जाएगा. So do you understand? Ulama say just take 1 year's payments off. Okay, that's that. The debts. Now these are just some examples where you don't need to pay zakat. Mahr. A lady got married last year. Yeah. Let's say December 2020. Her husband, in some cultures, they give big amounts of mahr. बहुत देते हैं. 20,000, 30,000. तो उसको मिला 30,000. But husband doesn't have it. तो उसने कहा हर साल मैं आपको 3,000 दूंगा. 10 साल में you'll get your 30,000. Or if it's 20,000, I'll give you every year 2,000. Okay? So when she got married in December 2020, her first payment hasn't come yet. She's going to get it in December 2021. So she doesn't have nothing at the moment. Does she give zakat? No, she doesn't. Because it's money you're waiting for. Husband mar gaya, fir kya hoga? She'll never get that money. That's one. Another example is inheritance, mirath. अब क्या होता है हिंदुस्तान पाकिस्तान में नाना नानी दादा दादी मर गए, या जमीन है, typical example, वहाँ जमीन है, 4 भाई है, 4 बहन है, whichever example you want to use, वो सब यहाँ है और एक भाई है हिंदुस्तान में, एक बहन है पाकिस्तान में. She's sorting it all out. दादा का इंतकाल हो गया या बाप का इंतकाल हो गया 2010 में. 10 years later it's still not sorted, but they're all waiting for, let's say, typical £1,000 each. Yeah, the £1,000 hasn't come. 10 saal ho gaye, it's still not sorted. You don't give zakat because you might never get it. Does that make sense? So the mahr example, inheritance example. Another one, which again I'm not saying is permissible. You can ask your local ulama, but a lot of youngsters ask about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. You need to ask again the permissibility. Yeah, there's a big difference. And even some who say permissible still say it's not advisable. So I've never heard anybody say till today that it's, yeah, permissible, do it in an encouraging way. But you need to ask local ulama. However, if you are doing these sort of currencies, 2.5% on the whole wealth, you have to give zakat. With the gold for women, sometimes women say, we don't wear it, it's just there. So I'm not going to give zakat, it doesn't matter. Whether you wear it, it's stored, it's on display, you wore it only on your wedding day 20 years ago, you give zakat on it. If you don't want to give zakat, then it's very simple. Sell it, give it to charity. Because for some women that's the case. They never wear it, they're just giving zakat on it every year. So give it to charity, simple. So the Hanafi ruling is you will give it, and it can be anything, a ring, a bracelet, a necklace, even a coin. So you give it on the actual gold, yeah, if it's pure gold. If it's mixed and alloy, mixture of metals, you find out what the gold is, what carat it is, and then you give it on that. So if you've got a necklace which is mixture of gold, you only give it on the gold. The rates of that gold. Some people look online, especially last year we had this big problem when lockdown started, all the gold jewelers were shut. So I think every alim in the country was getting asked about the rate of gold as if we deal in gold. So some ulama said, look online. Online you can find the rate of gold. There's only one disadvantage to this, is that will give you the rate of pure gold, new gold. Whereas your wife's necklace, your sister's bracelet, is probably 15 years old gold. Rates come down. So what I would say is do it the old-fashioned traditional way, go into the jewelers and ask them for scrap used gold. Because often online they will give you the value of new gold. Sometimes people ask, I've got a gold tooth, do I have to give zakat? No. If it's attached to your body, anything, you don't need to give it. But if it's like a nose ring, which sometimes women never take off as well, you can detach that, so you have to give zakat on it. Okay. Other things which you don't give zakat on are the things you use. You got a car, yeah, whether it's a Bentley, Mercedes or a Fiesta, you don't give zakat on it because you're using it. Your house you live in, you don't give zakat on it. The bed you sleep on, the sofa you sit on, you don't give zakat on it. But if somebody's selling beds, you're a manufacturer, yeah, you give zakat on each bed, retail price, each sofa. But what we use, no. And earlier I mentioned as well about products, any sort of products. And like I said, more and more people I've seen in these last 12 months, it will be because of lockdown, people had time, people getting second jobs, small businesses, nothing wrong with that, as long as it's halal and you pay your zakat and your tax on it. Both things are forgotten. People don't pay tax on it, which means you're lying to the government, and people don't pay zakat on it. So it's not just women. Often ulama give the example of women who make cakes and biscuits, or you're selling abayas and hijab or jewelry. You have to give zakat on the retail price. You can't say, well, I sell it from home, I don't have a shop. That's not the condition. The condition is, are you selling it? And it's the same with men. Mobile phones, computers, laptops, you're selling cars. You're not a dealer, you just got two cars in your backyard. You still need to give zakat on it. Anything you sell, that's what I'm trying to drill. Anything you sell. Somebody sells masks at home. You bought them for 10p, 15p, you got to give zakat on it. So, another question which is often raised is outstanding wages. Yeah, so somebody gets paid in arrears and just say March's wage they've not received. Allah knows why, but they've not received it, you don't give zakat on it. You only give zakat on whatever you have received. So, shares. Another question asked commonly is shares. If the intention is to buy and sell them, then you give zakat on the shares. If the intention is to buy them and sell them, you'll give 2.5% on your shares. Another one asked is pensions, which is quite tricky. The first category, there's two types of pensions. The defined benefit, which is what a lot of people are on. If you work for civil service, NHS, teachers, people in education department, most of these is the defined benefit. There's no zakat on final salary schemes. The one there is zakat on is the defined contributions, where you are actively contributing and your employee is giving on your behalf. Now this is quite complicated. If somebody wants the figures, I'm happy to give them, because I'm going to quickly go through them. That there's different types of funds. So one is like a direct property fund, you'll give 15%. So what that means is so you're not giving 100% all the zakat. 15% of what you have, you give zakat on that, which is 2.5% of that 15%. So if it's £100 you've got, So on £15 you'll give zakat, so 2.5% of the £15 only. The next one is a Sharia compliant pension. You give 26% of that. Yeah, so a bit more, 2.5% of the 26. If it's a diversified multi-asset mixed fund, you give 50%. And the bonds and fixed incomes, you give 100%. You give zakat on all of that, 2.5% of the whole thing. So like I said, if somebody wants those figures, they can ask me later. We come on to joint accounts. Many husbands and wives have joint accounts. So money from both wages or expenses are coming out of that account. Your wages going to that. Who gives zakat? Becomes a debate. If you can ascertain how much you're putting in, your wage, so let's say there's £3,000 in that account, yeah? 1,000 is your wages, 500 is your wife's wages, the other 1,500, it could be just to say benefits or something coming in, other sources of income. So you'll give it on the 1,000, yeah? Your wife will give it on the 500. This is where you know how much each one, and then that 1,500 will be divided. Because if it's benefits, it's kind of both your money if you're spending it. But in a scenario where you just don't know, money comes in that account, out that account, too much. It should be possible to know how much because of bank statements and things, but just say you can't, and there's still 3,000 in that account, and then both of you give it on 1,500. You split it 50-50 because you don't know how much each. So I've mentioned you can give zakat in advance. So those of us whose zakat anniversary पहली रमज़ान को नहीं होती, जो रमज़ान में zakat नहीं दे, वो मुहर्रम में देते हैं, शव्वाल में देते हैं, रजब में देते हैं, वो आइंदा की zakat दे सकते हैं अभी से, सवाब की नीयत से, क्योंकि सवाब ज़्यादा है इसलिए अक्सर लोग रमज़ान में देते हैं. लेकिन ताखीर नहीं कर सकते, ज़कात में ताखीर नहीं कर सकते. यहाँ तक के बाज़ उलमा तो ताखीर का मतलब ये लिखते कि पहली रमज़ान योर ज़कात इज़ ड्यू, 15वीं को भी you shouldn't give it. और बाज़ लोग आखिरी अशरा में देते हैं ना फजीलत के लिए, thinking it's Laylatul Qadr, so I'll give my zakat £1,000 on the 27th night. We're not saying, again, it's not about halal and haram. zakat तो हो जाएगी, zakat तो हो जाएगी, नाजायज़ जायज़ का मसला नहीं है. It's not correct to do so. One, तुम गरीब का हक, you're keeping it. The rights of the poor. वो बेचारा needed the money on 1st of Ramzan तो ताकि वो भी इफ्तार कर सकते हैं. This is why some उलमा से रमज़ान से पहले ज़कात दो. क्यों रमज़ान से पहले? ताकि गरीब का हक मिल जाए रमज़ान ही में. वो भी भूखा है ना, हम तो रोज़ा रख कर भूखे, वो वैसे भूखे है. So don't wait for the 27th, 29th. This I don't agree with as well, because it just defeats the whole purpose of Ramzan. We know charities, yeah? Ask the top 10 Muslim charities in England. They make millions just in this month. 11 महीनों को छोड़ो, वो इतने पैसे कमाते सिर्फ इस महीने में. Why? Because they distribute it as well. Meaning there's that many people in need. So if people like you and I and the majority of us are going to keep it, हाँ मुझे तो 27 को देना है क्योंकि लैलतुल कदर है, 1000 महीनों का सवाब मिलेगा. 1000 महीनों का सवाब मिलेगा, कभी नहीं मिलेगा. What if Laylatul Qadr is on the 21st? So this waiting for the 10 nights is not good. Yeah? It's not halal or haram का मसला, अच्छी बात नहीं है. गरीब का हक फौरन दे. Right, now we come on to certain things which maybe some of you have not heard of, and often when we say it, it raises eyebrows, is bills. Things you can knock off, certain bills. So the first one, and it's April as well, so hopefully it'll make you all happy inshallah, is council tax. Now previously, I never used to, 10 years ago I've never heard this masla as well, that you could knock off your council tax. Because we don't think of it as a debt. I don't know how much it is in Bolton, but probably about £1,000, over £1,000. Or is it more than that? For the year's council tax. About 1,200, 1,300. So we'll call it 1,000. Yeah, same in Blackburn, most places. Probably if you live in London, maybe it's 2,000 or more. So if it's a typical £1,000 council tax, पहली अप्रैल को आपको गवर्नमेंट को वो पैसे देने हैं काउंसिल को. बैठे £1,000, 1100, 1200, जो भी हो. But we don't do it. Most of us, illa mashallah, we do a direct debit. So every month you're paying 100 or 90 or whatever it is, yeah? But really that's a debt. You know what I mentioned about debts earlier, and you split them up? So, some ulama say you can take the full 1,000 off. Yeah? So how I said, आपके पास 10,000 pound है और उस पर ज़कात देने हैं, वो 1,000 pound council tax, you can take it off. For those who want to. Sometimes I've told people and they say we don't care, 25 pound here because for 1,000, 25 pound here we don't care. But if you want to, if you're needy, let's say you only have, let's say somebody has 1,366. Nisab है 366 और इस बहन के पास 1,366, she knocked 1,000 pounds of council tax, she might knock off 50, she doesn't need to give zakat. You get it? So council tax 1 year you can knock off. Utility bills, your gas bill, electricity bill, water bill, you can knock off the month you're paying zakat in. So if it's April, Ramadan, you can knock April's bill off. Why? Back to you owe it to them. You owe it to them. Same for phone bill. Yeah, if you pay whatever 10-15 pounds to O2 Vodafone, because you owe it them. कर्ज एक तरह का कर्ज है, तो ये भी निकाल सकते हैं. बाज़ लोग नहीं निकालते, कोई बात नहीं. I'm only explaining it कि जायज़ है. जो एक महीना का बिल निकालते जायज़ है. Gas bill, electricity bill, water bill you can do. Wi-Fi you can do. Any other sort of bill. These are the common ones. Gas, water, electricity, Wi-Fi, phone bill. I can't really think of any others, but yeah, you can take 1 month off. Council tax, like I said, why you can knock the full thing off? Because of 1st of April, you owe the council that £1,000. Student loans. Often, youngsters ask about student loans. Now, what it is with student loans, it's not a typical loan. You only pay it back when you're working and you work in a certain amount. If I'm correct, is it still £21,000? It was the last time I checked. I don't know if it's gone up or down, but whatever, 21,000. When you're earning that much, you pay that student loan back. So if somebody all his life earns 19k, 20,000 or 20,500, he never pays it back. So he doesn't knock the student loan off. Somebody who's earning 22,000, 25,000 a year, they're a doctor, a nurse, teacher, who would earn that much or more, they will knock the whole student loan, 1 year's payment. Because of what I said, it's long term. So if you're paying £100 every year, 1,200 you knock off. Haram money. Is there zakat on haram money? Haram paise par zakat dete hai? What do we think? Yes or no, 50-50. Dete hai? Ya nahi dete? Nahi dete hai. That's right. Haram money wajibut tasadduq. Usko sadqa mein dena wajib hai. Optional nahi hai. So, what are examples of haram money earned through drugs, through alcohol, you are off license, benefit fraud, you've robbed somebody. All of these are haram money. If you're lying to the government कि आप सिर्फ 24 घंटे काम कर रहे हो, काम कर रहे हैं 50 घंटे, ये जो एक्स्ट्रा जो है ये हराम है और आपको जो बेनिफिट भी मिलती है हराम है. मुफ्ती साहब से पूछ लेना. Yeah, last year I did a whole topic on this in Blackburn, just on haram money. Why did I do it? I'll tell you why. Because लोग 30वीं रमज़ान हमारे पास आना, मौलाना रोज़ा 30 रखे, तरावी 30 पढ़ी, दुआ भी बहुत की, तहज्जुद इफ्तारी. तुम लोग तो कहते हैं दुआ कबूल होते. ठीक है हज़रत, आपका मोगिज है, ठीक है हराम. नंबर 1 हराम. बेनिफिट भी लेते हैं, काम भी करते हैं, हराम. ऑफ लाइसेंस भी है, तीसरा हराम. कहाँ से दुआ कबूल होगी? आप बताइए कहाँ से दुआ कबूल होगी? इतने सारे हराम. आज है मुसलमान का हालत, यह हालत. एक हराम नहीं, सिर्फ बेनिफिट फोन. मोगिज भी लेते हैं, ऑफ लाइसेंस भी करते हैं, कुछ अंडर द टेबल भी काम करते हैं, पता नहीं क्या करते हैं, हर तरह से खा रहे हैं. फिर कहते हैं मौलाना लंबी दुआ करते, हर साल हज जाता हूँ, दुआ कबूल नहीं थी. कभी दुआ नहीं कबूल नहीं होगी. I'll be honest with you, कभी दुआ कबूल होगी ही नहीं. मेरे अल्फाज नहीं है, हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के अल्फाज है. तो ये भी मैं साइड नोट के लिए बता देता हूँ, जो लोग 100% हलाल नहीं कमाते रमज़ान में, ये आपकी नीयत है, आपका इरादा है, ये ख़त्म कर दो. पैसे पानी की तरह आता जाता रहता है. मनी कम्स एंड गोज. और जैसे मैंने कहा, वो लोग मैंने देखे हैं, कुछ मुश्किलात को सामना करना पड़ेगा. To earn a good amount of money, you have to go through a bit of difficulty at the start. And I know people who've been through it, and alhamdulillah, today they're rich. You won't say millionaires, but yeah, they're decent. And they say, Maulana, you know, earning halal, I went through this. Allah barakat deta hai. Barakat ko मानो. बरकत का मतलब ये नहीं है कि मिलियन पाउंड जब तक बैंक अकाउंट में नहीं है बरकत नहीं है. नो. मैं जानता हूँ बाज लोग जिनके अकाउंट 1000 तक नहीं जाते, बहुत खुश जिंदगी. क्यों? हलाल जिंदगी है। और मैं वो उन भाइयों को जानता हूँ 50,000, लाख, 10 लाख रात को नींद नहीं आती, खाते हैं हराम, बच्चे होते हैं हराम, हर चीज हराम, खून में हराम, फिर दुआ कबूल नहीं होगी। तो हराम मनी पर ज़कात नहीं है, वो सब के सब पैसे। And if you don't know, like I said, people who take a mortgage, benefit fraud, जानते नहीं कितने, estimate कि 10 साल में हजार पाउंड मैंने बेनिफिट में खाई, 10,000 दे दो। If you can't give it all together, give a bit at a time. But haram money you need to get rid of. हराम मनी फिर दाढ़ी भी काम नहीं आती, रोजे भी काम नहीं आते, ज़कात भी काम नहीं आता, नमाज भी काम नहीं आती। If you're eating haram, I'll be frank. That's why I said it's a whole different topic, which inshallah maybe one day in the future will deliver. Intention needs to be made for zakat. Intention बहुत ज़रूरी है। और ये उसके साइड में भी ये भी बता दूँ, रोज़े में लोग ज़कात निकालते हैं, ठीक है ये 50 पाउंड है ज़कात के लिए, अक्सर कर लेते हैं, रोज़े में लोग भूल जाते हैं। And especially if you don't wake up for sehri. Yeah, we all have that one day, don't we? Alarm didn't go off. And you blame the missus will blame you. But that day, what you best do is make intention at night. For all of us, make intention of roza सोने से पहले, ताकि वो एक दिन गलती से छूट गया सहरी, तो कम से कम रोजा तो हो जाएगा। You don't need to say it verbally, दिल में नियत कर, लेकिन रोजे के लिए भी नियत जरूरी है। सहरी के लिए उठ के ये भी नियत है। If you woke up for सहरी, सहरी खा ली, विटामिक्स खा ली, कॉर्नफ्लेक्स खा ली, चाय पी ली, ये ठीक है। You don't need to say it verbally that I am fasting tomorrow, the 8th fast of Ramadan. हो गई ये नियत। Last thing, and then we'll finish inshallah. Who can you give zakat to, and who can you not give it to? So you can't give it to a non-Muslim. काफिर को zakat नहीं दे सकते, हिंदू, मुस्लिम, ईसाई को नहीं दे सकते। आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के जो घर वाले हैं, जिसको सैयद हम कहते हैं, उनको zakat नहीं दे सकते। मालदार को ज़कात नहीं दे सकते। अब मालदार का माना क्या? किसी के पास 100 पाउंड है, वो समझता है मैं मालदार, किसी के पास लाख है, वो समझता है मैं मालदार। शरीयत के हिसाब से मालदार वो है जिसके पास निसाब हो। If you got 366 pounds in your bank account today, you can't receive zakat. According to Sharia, you will be classed as maldar, ghani, rich person. You can't give it to the masjid, any sort of building work, hospital, wells. Why? उसमें गैर मुस्लिम भी आ सकते हैं। Yeah, a non-Muslim could come and use your wuzu and apply, they won't pray namaz. And if I give my zakat to this masjid, it's not counting. So you can't give it to these projects. Who can you give it to? Brother, sister. You can give it to. Yeah, you can give it to your relatives, और उसमें सवाब भी ज़्यादा है, कि ताकि रिश्तेदार है। तो आपके बहन भाई हिंदुस्तान में है, पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश में, उनको ज़कात दो पहले, डबल सवाब मिलेगा, एक ज़कात का अदा करने की, दूसरे रिश्तेदारों की। माँ बाप को नहीं दे सकते। माँ बाप का मतलब what we call ascendants and descendants. तो माँ बाप, नाना नानी, दादा दादी, परदादा, इस तरीके के going up and down. Children you can't give it to, grandchildren, descendants. Does that make sense? So माँ बाप, ascendants and descendants you can't give it to. You can give it to your neighbors. Who should we give it to? Who is it recommended we give zakat to? Is the needy, the actual needy. ये नहीं कि वीडियो आ गया व्हाट्सएप पर, बहुत गरीब, उसका तो घर नहीं, and he just made a fake video. आपने तहकीक भी नहीं की, आपकी गलती है। तहकीक करो। इस जमाने में फ्रॉडी भी बहुत है, होते हैं, चोर भी होते हैं। हम आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के गोल्डन जमाने में नहीं जी रहे। तहकीक बहुत जरूरी है। पता नहीं या बोल्टन में होते, ब्लैकबर्न में तो बहुत होता है, वो कोई गैर मुस्लिम, रोमानियन या जो भी हो, दाढ़ी रख ली, हिजाब पहन ली और जी जी बिस्मिल्लाह बिस्मिल्लाह करते आते, और हमारे मुसलमान भाई बहनों दे देते हैं। न तहकीक न कुछ। डोर पर आए, उनको सर्टिफिकेट मांगो, रिसीट मांगो। इतना नादान मत बनो। ज़कात इस तरह नहीं होती, because if you give it to the wrong person, your zakat will not be counted because you didn't do the तहकीक। हर चीज मुल्ला मौलवी का काम नहीं है, थोड़ी तहकीक करो। कहाँ से आई भाई? बांग्लादेश से। कौन सा चैरिटी? ठीक है, गूगल कर देते हैं। कभी गूगल को भी इस्तेमाल करो, बहुत काम आता है गूगल। Check, get your kids to check, is this charity registered? Do they even have a number? Because in Ramadan गैर मुस्लिम भी जानते हैं कि ये लोग बहुत देते हैं और हम नादानी से देते हैं। So you should give it to the actual गरीब students of knowledge। कुछ दारूम के तलबा हो, यहाँ भी हो सकते हैं, they can't pay their fees, उनको ज़कात दे सकते हैं। मुफ्ती साहब को पूछो, वहाँ हिंदुस्तान पाकिस्तान में तो बहुत होते हैं, तो वो भी दे सकते हैं। ज़कात इस मुल्क में भी दे सकते हैं। पहले लोग समझते हैं यार कोई गरीब फकीर नहीं। Yeah? The Charity National Zakat Foundation is only working in this country, and there's many others. तो ज़कात इस मुल्क में भी दे सकते हैं. और आखिरी चीज़ एक नियत बल्कि दुआ है वो ज़कात देते वक्त, अल्लाहुम्मा जअलहा मग़नमा वला तजअलहा मग़रमा. अल्लाहुम्मा जअलहा मग़नमा नून से, वला तजअलहा मग़रमा रा से, कि अल्लाह आप उसमें नफ़ा देना और उसमें कमी कोताही मत करना. If anybody does have any questions, inshallah, very quickly we will answer. I know some people yesterday and the day before wanted to ask as well, so they can ask, inshallah, anything that's been discussed or general Ramadan masail. If not, we will conclude here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to take our zakat out correctly. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all barakah and grant us the ability to earn halal and stay away from haram. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana.